What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Christian Hanna Horror here today, and today we're doing top 5 horror movies of 1979. That's right, we're going backwards this time because, quite honestly, I've got a little bit of homework to do on the early 70s because the early 70s, 70, 71, it's a lot of old school Hammer stuff, and I got my work cut out. But the late 70s up till about 73 or 4 is going to be just as tough as the 80s, if not tougher. But without further ado, we're starting with 79, right before the 80s, and arguably some of the best horror movies in the world. These are movies that are just as acclaimed as some of the movies in the 80s that we know and love, if not more. So let's get started with our top 5 horror movies of 1979. Coming in at number 5 for me is going to be a small little film called Tourist Trap. Wow, this film, I don't see it get talked about a whole lot, but I see it being mentioned a lot in circles and buddies of mine that have seen the movie, and I think it's starting to kind of get a little bit of a bump from being on Shudder and things like that. Tourist Trap, this movie absolutely just creeps me out. I won't spoil too much of it because I really need you guys to watch this movie if you have not seen it. Tourist Trap is known for having some of the freakiest scenes in horror movie history ever with these mannequins, and that's all I'm gonna say. We all know when we were little kids, mannequins used to freak us out. We would look at them, we'd be like, wow, those things, are they real? Are they gonna move? Well, Tourist Trap brings that fear to life, and it's one of the creepiest things I've ever seen, and I'm pretty sure that was Charles Band who was involved with that movie. This was way back in the day, and Tourist Trap has got to be one of the freakiest, scariest movies I've ever seen, but it's got some interesting music cues in it, but I'll leave it at that. It's a low-budget horror movie from the late 70s, but a very, very creepy movie is Tourist Trap. Coming in at number 4 for me is going to be the Amityville Horror. Man, this movie is absolutely fantastic. You know, you guys, when I did a DVD update, you guys were like, yeah, Amityville 2 is even better. And I would agree, but that doesn't mean that Amityville is not one of the scariest and greatest horror movies I've ever seen. Amityville Horror, it's just an iconic movie. It's iconic. The house is still talked about to this day. I'd say it's aged fairly well. You know, Amityville Horror is still a creepy watch. You know, there's still some really great stuff from this movie. And yeah, I love the Amityville Horror. I just think it's just fantastic. It's a movie I'll periodically go back and watch every now and again, and it's funny, I do think it kind of gets better every time I watch it, and I appreciate it a little bit more every time I watch it. The acting is not like over the top fantastic, but it's still like really good, and it's a great way to end the 70s with a movie like the Amityville Horror. The movie stood the test of time. We're still talking about it. It got the remake treatment, so that means it definitely still has some clout in the world of horror. So Amityville Horror, a great movie, and I kind of want to go back and rewatch it. I urge you to go back and rewatch Amityville Horror and tell me if it lives up to the name itself. Coming in at number 3 for me is a movie I finally got around to seeing just recently, and it's got a weird history apparently overseas. It was already, this is Zombie 2 or whatever, but yeah. In America in 1979, a movie called Zombie came out. This movie was great. I really love the opening to this movie. Just a great opening, very creepy. I remember, I don't want to spoil it in case anybody hasn't seen it, but I really, really, really dug the movie. If I did like a top 5 zombie movies, I probably would put it up there. I just think it's great. And the iconic cover art for the movie with that zombie with the worm coming out of its eye, it definitely grabbed me, and this movie is a classic in its own right. You know, it's definitely a fan favorite in the hardcore horror community. While it's not as iconic as maybe, you know, Night of the Living Dead or Return of the Living Dead, even Zombies, you know, arguably one of the most fan favorited horror movies in the actual horror community, and rightfully so. It's a very, very good movie. I gotta give it credit, and in my list, it makes it on here. So check that movie out, 1979's Zombie. Oh boy, here we go. Last 2. Number 2 for me is gonna be. This was hard. I really went back and forth on this one, but being the horror fan that I am, I decided to what my number 1 would be. But my number 2 for 79 is just one of the greatest movies ever, Alien. You know, Alien, wow. This movie just does not look like it's from the 70s. I recently rewatched this on Blu-ray, and the movie just still looks fantastic, you know. And the character of Ripley is just, you know, she transcends, you know, she's everyone in a way. She's that person that is noble, it doesn't stop, and it fights to survive. And I think that's one of the reasons we all connect with the character of Ripley is she's gonna keep going. The tone of this movie is just interesting, you know. It's, I don't know if you want to call it a tense movie, I don't know if you want to call it suspense movie, I don't know, but Alien, wow, it's a brilliant film. And it was written by the great Dan O'Bannon, so rest in peace to you, sir. You know what really is incredible is how good the special effects were in a movie like this for it being 70s. I mean, it rivals the special effects work of some movies in the 80s. You know, obviously Aliens just really went over the top with just the incredible makeup effects, but wow, if Aliens just doesn't look, you know, fantastic going back and watching it. The chest bursting scene is man, it's so iconic and it's so horrifying. And just the scene of the face hugger on the gentleman in the movie, and just the oh man, you're so glad you're not him, you know. And there's a great scene where the alien is hanging on for dear life outside of the spacecraft, and you see him boom ramming into the spaceship. God, on Blu-ray, I almost thought it was going to look a little wonky, you know, maybe like, you know, bringing all the pixelation up will make you see more of the, you know, practicality of it. But I was like, wow, no, that still looks really creepy. Fantastic stuff. I mean, I really can't say enough good things about Alien. It's definitely a piece of history. You know, Alien's going nowhere. We're going to be talking about this movie for the next 40 years. So, yeah, number 2 is Alien. I got 2 honorable mentions, and these movies arguably could have just been in my number 4 or 5. I went back and forth with this. 79 was probably going to be one of the most difficult years of the 70s. But 2 honorable mentions I have is The Brood, fabulous film, and a movie called Salem's Lot. You know, Salem's Lot is fantastic. It's just one of the coolest looking vampires, you know, just iconic, you know, great stuff. 2 incredibly good films, but 79 was tough, and I had to pick a number 1, and I had to pick a top 5, and it just came down to which ones really hit me more in the soul, and those movies just did not make the cut. But obviously, if you haven't seen The Brood or Salem's Lot, just classics, all-time classics. Okay, here we go, number 1. I'm sure some of you could probably already guess what this movie is. This movie has just grown on me over the last 5 years, and it's become part of my bloodstream, if you will. That movie is Phantasm. I literally cannot say enough good things about the film. What's lovely about Phantasm is I don't think I'll ever quite fully understand the movie. And, you know, that could be a problem, but in this case, you know, that's the one thing that's just brilliant about it. I don't know that Cascarelli could tell you exactly what's going on in the movie. Phantasm is just like this little movie that could. You know, it was a lower budget film. Cascarelli's parents, I believe, were funding the movie. Magical things happening all at once. Getting Angus Scrimm in this film. You know, Michael A. Baldwin, Reggie. It's such an off-the-wall, strange movie, but Phantasm just happens to do it, and happens to do it perfectly. That theme of Phantasm is just iconic, you know. If there was one 70s movie I could go back and just experience in the theater besides like Halloween, you know, Phantasm would definitely be one of them. God, Phantasm would have been an incredible theater experience. And it's just this movie that, I don't know, there's not a movie in this top 5 list that I've made that has a creepy, just strange vibe like Phantasm does. You know, Phantasm just has the most uneasy vibe out of any movie. Credit to Don Cascarelli, and just magic things happening. This movie was just the right elements coming together at one time to make an iconic film, and just a beloved film. So that's my number 1 all day, every day. As good as Alien is, I like Phantasm a little bit more, but that's not to say that Alien isn't one of the greatest movies ever. So there we go. Okay, guys, that's my top 5 of 1979. I know you guys are going to have just as hard as a time making your list, but obviously, please, you know why I love doing this. You guys got to drop your list below so I can see them. So yeah, 1979 going down to 1978, and you know what that means, what movie's going to be in that list. So, but it's going to be interesting because there's some good movies in 78, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right, guys, please be sure to drop your comment below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy these top 5 rankings of the year. Thank you guys for watching. This is Christian Hanna Horror. Also, be sure to check the description. My Teespring store is up now. I've got shirts available, and I can't wait you guys to check them out. So yeah, thank you guys again. Christian Hanna Horror, and we will see you in 1978.